How's it going? This is Steve at BridgeSet Sound. I'm here in our new and improved studio. We have our prototype custom desk. We have a mix of our favorite pre's, EQs, compressors, effects, and more. And I just got done wiring everything into our patch bay, so I'm going to show you exactly how we did that. A quick note on the patch bay. So the front of the patch bay looks exactly the same as the back of the patch bay. A1, the first one on the top, A1 on the back as well is the first one on the top. The back of the patch bay is what's connected to the back of our gear. Before you start connecting, I highly recommend creating a spreadsheet with a patch bay template. Ours is available for download and looks like this. The first piece to think about is your converter. The Symphony is our ADDA, analog to digital, digital to analog converter, and connects with Thunderbolt to our computer. Your converter may be built into your audio interface and connect with USB. These audio interfaces have the preamps built in, as well as the converter. In the case of our Symphony, its sole job is to convert, and we have external preamps that we'll be wiring into it. I'm currently using the Symphony desktop to record my mic, but as soon as we get everything plugged in, we'll turn this on and this will all come alive and connect to our computer. So our Symphony has 16 inputs and 16 outputs on the back, and they use these DB25 connectors. The digital signal is sent via the Thunderbolt cable. The DB25 connectors look like this on one end, and you can see outputs 1 through 8 and 9 through 16, and the inputs right next to that. So we're going to take our cable here, screw it in, and now we have our inputs 1 through 8 on this snake and 9 through 16 on this snake. So these are the inputs that'll be bringing the signal into the computer. Okay, so let's take 1 through 8, and we're using a 1/4 inch patch bay, so we have 1/4 inch balance cables here. So let's take it over to our patch. Okay, so per our patch diagram on our spreadsheet here, we have the Apogee inputs on the second patch bay, this one here, and as we know, the bottom row are our inputs. So we have 1 through 8 to plug in right here. These Hosta snakes are color coordinated. All right, and now I'm going to get 9 through 16. All right, so now you can see we will have inputs 1 through 16 ready to go. Now let's do our outputs from the Apogee. So we'll start with outputs 1 through 8. So we're putting our DB25, connecting that to analog out 1 through 8. And this is what will send the signal out of the computer and then into any compressors, effects, whatever send we want to use. All right, and on our patch bay, our outputs are going to be the third patch bay. And since these are outputs, this is going to be on the top row of the third patch bay. So we're actually going to start with 3. We're using main outs 1 and 2 as the main outs. Sorry, we're using output 1 and 2 as the main out. So those will be our monitors. So we'll wire those in last, but we're going to put our monitors somewhere else over to the side, far and away. And that is because I don't know exactly who's going to be coming in here trying to connect to this rig. You know, it's going to be a very live workspace. And output 1 and 2 is kind of the consensus main out. So we don't want to mess up any system. So we're going to honor that. And so we're going to start with 3. So output 3 is going to be our first usable output. Since it is an output, we're going to be going in on the top here. So third bay, top row. These are our outputs. 17 and 18. So these are here so that on the front where everything else is, no one accidentally patches into that and creates some type of situation. So here's our main out 1 and 2. These will be connected to our monitors from here to each speaker. We have our Apogee computer inputs 1 through 16. And then so far we have 3 through 8 of the outputs ready to use. Okay, so with that concept, let's look at our mic pre's. We have 9 preamps here. The API channel strip is on the top. And then we have the warm audio WA412 right here, followed by our ESA 428 from Focusrite. So I pre-wired these so you can see we have both the inputs and the outputs on the back here. We have 2 different snakes, one for the inputs and one for the outputs. The inputs are your male XLR here. And the outputs are the female. So one of the snakes is male, the other is female. I'm using these 2 together to wire first because it equals 8 total, and each snake is 8. So we'll start with our outputs. So this is the other end of the snake. This is going right here, as you see labeled on the back, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to use that same order, and then the 4 on the Focusrite will be 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're seeing the same color next to it again because we have 2 different snakes that we'll be hooking up. We're doing the outputs first. So I went ahead, connected all these outputs, and now let's take this over to the patch bay. All right, so our outputs are going to be our second patch bay, and now the top row. So if you remember, the bottom row are the inputs into our Apogee and computer. So we're going to start, since we skipped preamp number 1 over there, which was our API. We're going to start here with 2 because the first input of our warm audio is going to be 2. I'm not going to use a snake to patch in the API. I'm just going to use individual cables. But what we're doing now is utilizing the half-normaled signal. So what that means is we have this patch bay set to half-normaled. So the preamps coming into here, let's say we're using these first 2 channels on the warm audio, are half-normaled, meaning the signal will automatically, without patching on the front, go to the one below it. So the port below this, which is A2 on the top, our preamp output, we have B2 right below it, which is input 2 that flows back to our computer. So without patching on the front, any signal coming from this preamp, coming out of the preamp, will go into the computer. Again, no patch cable on the front. So that's the nice thing about using half-normaled, if it works for you in that sense. And then we'll show you how flexible it can still be later on here. All right, so we just hooked up 8 preamps, preamp outputs ready to go to the computer inputs. So now we're going to take the inputs of our preamps. Since these are our preamp inputs, They're going to go along the bottom. And we're going to start right here with one. I'm sorry. We're going to start right here with two. Again, because we're starting right now with our warm audio preamp, which is our second and onward. Okay, so now you'll notice that our preamp inputs are just here on the bottom. There's nothing yet above them. We also have this XLR patch bay, if you can see right here. So this is what we'll plug into with an actual microphone, and we're going to use 1 through 10 on that, and we're going to put those right above on the top row of that first patch bay. So first, I'm going to plug in to the XLR patch bay here. This is getting a little tight, so bear with me. Okay, so now that those are all wired in, we will put them right at the top here. So we want mic input 1 to be input 1, which will then send it right into the API that we have yet to hook up. Okay, so now we have a full signal flow complete. So if you plug in to the front of the XLR patch bay, let's say input 2, the output of the microphone then is here on the top row. So this is half normaled automatically to the preamp input on the row below it. And then the second patch bay has the preamp output. That's half normaled to the Apogee computer input 2 below. So now without patching anything on the front, except for plugging our microphone in, but without using any of our 1/4" patch bay here, the signal will automatically flow into input 2. Okay, so now we're good to go from our mic inputs right into the preamps. Okay, so let's go back to our monitors. We have our main outputs 1 and 2 right here, left and right. 17 is left, 18 is right. I'm on what will be the right speaker here now. So let's just make this connection so it's nice and easy. We're going to go from 18 right into the speaker that's on the rack above. Now, because this is half normaled, remember this snake here is outputs 1 through 8 from our Apogee computer. So it's sending the signal here, outputs 1 and 2 to 17 and 18. And now, since it's half normaled, without needing to do anything on the front, we're just pulling that signal and running it into the speaker. So again, another advantage and good demonstration of half normaled. Nothing's happening on the front, but we're automatically passing that signal on the back. So we will hook up the left speaker as well a little bit later just to keep it out of the way. Okay, so let's finish our Apogee outputs. So outputs 9 through 16 are really for us to use for whatever we want. Sending software instruments out into the analog world here. That sounds really, really good. Any pre-recorded things that are sent to us or recorded somewhere else, let's say vocals, if it's a nice raw recording, we can actually send that out and then through our compressors and such here. So the rest of these outputs are going to be in that third patch bay, row A, to complete that. So I'm going to have to kind of reach up in here, so bear with me. Okay, so now all of our inputs and outputs are connected with these snakes to the back of the patch bay. We have 8 of our preamps connected here, and we are about to get our compressors and some other effects connected here. So now we're going to wire 2 of our compressors. These will be isolated, not half-normaled, on our patch bay. So we'll get into that in a moment here. I'm using the same snake for both inputs and outputs in this case. There's only 4 right here, so we'll have 4 extra cables. But the snake will keep it nice and clean. And let's go over to our patch bay. Okay, so this is going to go into our 3rd patch bay. And let's see, we have the input of our WA76, which was this cable here. So we're going to put that into B1 on our 3rd patch bay. So this is going underneath something else, but since our bottom 2 patch bays are isolated, there's no connection between the top and the bottom without a patch cable in the front. So we're able to take our compressor inputs, put them here underneath what is right above, and not have to worry about any signal automatically coming down. So these are isolated. All right, so the 2 compressor inputs there, and then the outputs. Oop, I used the wrong color cable. So the input of the WA2A is red. So the inputs of the 2 compressors are next to each other, and the outputs will be right below that. So let's match these up. When I say right below that, it's actually a whole new patch bay. So again, there's no connection between these. You will always have to make that connection yourself. So inputs on the bottom row here, they're isolated. So even if you're using just this compressor, you'd still have to patch something into it and then patch something out of it to go somewhere else. So that's it for those compressors. So we still have a few more things to patch. We have some pre's, one more pre, an EQ, a compressor on this side, then we have some synths on the other side. I am not going to do this on camera. It's the same principle that we've done. So these will be isolated inputs to outputs, and you can check the spreadsheet for reference. So I'm going to do this and be right back. This is what our patch bay looks like on the back. We've got everything in the back of the desk wired in. I got our synths and other things in here wired in. It's 2 synths and a reverb. And then I need to connect all the power, save that for last to keep it nice and clean and out of the way. And we will be using our built-in cable management strip here on the bottom of our desk to keep this all neat and organized and off of the ground. So I'm going to do all that now, push this thing back, and we'll start using it. Okay, so you're only hearing the camera audio right now. I turned off the Symphony desktop and plugged in the cable for our Symphony MK II. So we're ready to try our first patch. So I'm going to plug this XLR cable for this microphone into number 1 on our XLR patch bay. So without any cables on the front of this patch, it's automatically going from the 1 on the HOSA XLR out of the mic, which is A1 on the top patch bay, into the pre, which is B1 on the top patch bay, then out of the pre, which is now the 2nd patch bay, A1 pre-output, half normaled to automatically go into Apogee 1, computer input 1, right there. So let's plug it in and see what we get. I guess I should turn the Symphony on. The Symphony is on. Our microphone is plugged in. Let's see. Check, check. Nothing. Oh, on the API. Check, check. There we go. Check, check. So you're seeing the 2 meters right here. Output, input 1 right here. And here, let me hit record and let's see how this sounds. Check, check. Testing the API connection. Wow. I think we're good. So that does it. We are wired and ready. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped on your patching or home studio signal flow journey. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, hit us up direct. Appreciate, of course, the likes, subscribes, all that good stuff. And now that we have our new studio set, you can expect a ton of content with a bunch of cool synths, a bunch of recording stuff, Logic, Ableton, whatever. Check it out. Stay tuned. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.